appreciate you being here. Welcome to another episode of Kicking It with Zain, the belt guy. There's the belt. I'm the guy. You know how it goes. So let's go ahead and get into my guest today, former NFL lineman, former New York Giant, and my frat brothers. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on Adam Gettis.
What's going on, brother?
How's it going, bro? Appreciate you being here. How's everything with you?
Can't complain. Just loving life right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if your screen's coming through or not. Is there a delay on my end? Perhaps there's a delay on my end.
I'm not sure.
Seem to be having. I don't know if people can see your video. I can't see your video, but I can hear you.
Can you see me? Can you see me?
You can. It's very odd. Let me
Yeah,
check
that's
this.
weird. Let me see. That work?
It did not. It's interesting because I just saw you before we even came on here, so that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know where your actual thing went.
It's so weird. Let me see. Let me turn it off. Turn it back on.
Yeah, it's just a black screen, but I can hear you perfectly clearly. If you want, you could pop in and out real quick, or we can just continue. It's on you. I mean,
Let's see. I'm gonna pop in and out real quick. See if it.
yeah, I got you. So while we have a quick little mini delay right now, Adam's having a little bit of issues with video. Let's kind of get to talking in the chat. Whoever is here is not here. Just keep your questions ready for Adam, whether we have video or not. We're gonna go live. We're gonna do this again. Adam Gettis was drafted in, I believe, 2012. That was the Odell draft. Former lineman, played with the Giants. There we go. Now I think your video's come. There we go. So we got that. So now nobody needs to talk to me. Cool. Appreciate it because not about me anyway. I just want to quickly shout out Chris is in the building. Darius in the building. God Body Jitsu, a.k.a. my Dean. My Dean's always in the building, so I appreciate him showing support. And there you go. You know, Adam is fresh, so throw that up and shout it out. So shout out to Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Adam, let's get back into this and let's just get it a little bit, right? So before we even get into any football talk, tell me a little bit about you, right? Where are you from? How did you end up as a football player? Like, what's that journey like where it's just like, I'm going to be a football player. Now I'm in the NFL. Tell me a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, and a little bit about that.
Okay, bet. So I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, Cal Park, south suburbs, right outside of Chicago. Baseball player, basketball player, and a bowler growing up. Never knew I wanted to play football. It wasn't even on my radar. My uncle was like, hey, you should play football. You know, you a big dude. I was 6'3", 260 as a 13-year-old. So I was a big dude. So he's like, yeah, you know, you should play football. I play football, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to stick with this bowling and basketball. I'm nice at it. You know, all kids from Chicago, they grew up playing basketball. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
So a couple days before I signed up for high school, a couple days before I signed up for high school, the football coach came up to me and was like, hey, you want to sign up for football? You know, we're signing up guys right now. And I'm like, no, I want to go bowl. That's what I do. I'm a bowler. And he was like, you a big dude. Like, all your friends are signing up. You know, you should come play football. I'm like, no, I'm good. You know, I'm going to stick with what I do. But then he was like, all right, bet. So how about you just put your name on the paper and you come to the first practice. And if you like it, cool. If you're not, you can leave. I said, okay, bet. Let's do that. And then ever since then, I've been playing ball.
So what happened in that first practice? Because you had a choice not to come back. What made you go, I like this, or I want to come back for at least the second practice?
So all my boys are out there. I went to a mostly white high school, and it was I think it was like 8 of us, eight of my boys, 8 black guys. And then we was all out there kicking it, having a great time. We running 40s. We're doing push-ups, you know, just running around the field, having a good time with each other, talking mess. And that's what kind of attracted me to the game, was just the ability to talk mess, but being able just to have camaraderie with the guys outside of school. And that was my first sport coming into high school. So it's kind of like, okay, this is cool. I like it. I guess I'm going to stick with it. Whatever happens, happens. I'm one of the biggest guys out there. I wasn't the biggest guy, surprisingly. Again, I was 6'3", 260, 14 years old. Our biggest guy was 6'7", 320 pounds. Our second biggest guy was 6 foot, 300 pounds. And another one of the linemen, he was 6'4", like 330, 340. So we had a big offensive line. We were big dudes, and I was the smallest guy on the line. So it was cool though. I enjoyed it. I played defense coming out of starting in high school. I played defensive tackle, a little bit of tight end. Didn't play offensive line until my sophomore year, where they brought me up on varsity. They had a center that got hurt, Kevin, and they said, "Hey, we need somebody that's gonna, potentially be a starter for us for the next 3 years. How about we bring you off the sophomore team and join varsity? But you got to learn center." I'm like, "I don't want to play no center. I don't want to hold the ball. I want to go hit somebody."
Right.
They're like, "No, you don't have a choice." So, so I ended up playing offense and defense, mostly offense. So played center junior year. We made it all the way to the semifinals and lost. Junior year, we made it to the state championships. We won the state championship. We were 9th in the country. And then my senior year, we were 14th in the country, and we lost in the semifinals, I think. So we were always nice, 9th in the nation, 14th in the nation.
So you didn't pick up football till high school. Freshman year is when you first organized, at least started to get into football, because you were doing other things, right? You mentioned bowling, basketball, baseball, everything else. But football, you didn't put on pads till freshman year, 14.
Yep. First day of football was my first day of ever playing or even thinking about football. I wasn't even playing Madden back then. Like that's how much out of football I was.
Right.
But I did football, basketball, and track in high school. All state in track. I was 10th in the country in shot put junior, senior year. Played basketball, all conference. Nothing crazy.
You were just racking them up across the board as an athlete here, right? Everything you're talking about, that's the making of a lot of athleticism in a super athlete for that size. Again, 6'3", 315, 320, probably at more of a pro level, but at high school, 260.
Oh, I wasn't that big. I wasn't that big. So freshman year, I was 6'3", 260. Mm-hmm. But after basketball season in my freshman year, I got down to 205. So I played at 205 the rest of my high school career.
Okay.
I ended up playing right tackle and tight end, but I was only 205 playing that position. So college just started hitting me up. They never thought I was going to get a scholarship. My grades were awful. I had a 2.1 GPA. It is what it is. Not thinking about the next level.
Sure.
So I had about 9 scholarships, mostly from MAC schools, Northern Illinois, Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan. Iowa was my biggest one. So it was between me going to Northern and playing defensive end or going to Iowa and playing offensive line. And at the time, I would put, I think, 4 or 5 offensive linemen within 2 years in the NFL. I cannot think of Marshall Yonder was the biggest name at the time. Robert Gallery, those guys, they were going in the league and doing well. So I said, okay, why not? So the coach comes up to the school. He's like, "You said you were 245. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm 245. Then he brought out the scale, and I was only 210. So he was like, "Man, you got to gain some weight, and get those grades right before we give you the scholarship." So stepped it up senior year, got straight A's, ended up with like a 2.5 GPA, and was able to accept my scholarship and play at the next level.
Sure. So in high school, you were already thinking about the next thing, right? You're already thinking about the NFL when you're even weighing out your scholarships.
No, I wasn't even thinking about going to college. I didn't think I would even go to college. Just being from like Chicago, Cal Park, I know I went to a different high school. We ended up moving when I got a little older so I can go to a better high school. But my mind was kind of still back in, where I grew up. And it was like, a lot of us don't even make it to college. A lot of us, don't even make it out of Chicago. So, I never really thought about going to college. I thought I was going to be, junior college, stay at mom's for a little bit, work my way up to college, maybe. Sure. So that was never a thought in my mind of even going to the pros, let alone going to college. So it wasn't even on my mind.
When did it click for you? When did that become almost like, wait, this is a possibility, this is a chance and inroads now for me, or a path? When did that kind of click for you?
So junior year, we played Lockport High School, and my offensive line coach, Coach Eddie, was like, "Hey, you can get a scholarship to go play football, right?" And I'm like, I don't even I never really even thought about playing in college, let alone going to college. And he's like, "No, man, like you're a good player. I see something in you. It could happen. I'm like, all right, just blowing it off. Whatever happens, happens. Then junior year comes, and then a couple more scouts start coming to see me. It was me, a kid named DJ Perkle, and John Olson, and we were getting recruited by all the D1 teams, and we kind of all just were like, all right, we see these schools coming. We can actually do something with this, and let's work together and get us out of Lincoln Way and go to college. So that's kind of when I was like, okay, college is a possibility, and I really don't want to stay at mom's crib. So let me buckle down and get right, with football in my grades, so I can, eventually go to college.
Okay, so growing up in Chicago, sports-wise, is it all just Chicago homer stuff regardless? Like Bulls fan? Well, I don't know if it's Cubs or White Sox. Like that depends on where you live.
Right. So I was always I'm always a Bulls fan. Bulls fan number one. Grew up. Me and my dad used to go to all the games when the Jordan era.
Yep.
Sox. I'm from the South Side, so I've been a Sox fan, and we used to go to all the games back in the day. Just through baseball. My dad working at ComEd, he used to get a whole bunch of tickets for the baseball team, and we used to do the whole shebang. But I'm not a Bears fan. I can't stand the Bears. I'll say that straight up. I hate the Bears. Always will hate the Bears. I tried out for the Bears, and they didn't take me. So, I don't mess with them. Still don't mess with them.
I like it. I like that. Stand on that energy.
I stand on it. Yeah.
I like that. Okay. So once you started getting into football, did you ever gravitate towards any professional team? Were you looking at other colleges, or were you just, I'm too focused on what I'm doing, I'm not worried about, that's not where I'm at right now? Or when you did watch, was it just like, I'm just watching football to watch football?
I've always been a Green Bay fan, so I was a big Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers guy from day one. When I first started watching football, because the Bears are never good. Well, I'll say they weren't never good, but they were good when I wasn't born in '85. It's been a long time. I was born in '88.
That's when I was born. That's literally
so they won a championship when you were born, but they haven't done anything since. But Green Bay has always been one of those teams that are usually number one in the AFC East or NFC East or NFC North.
Yep.
They're always been a good team. Like I said, I've been a Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Ahmad Green, Donald Driver, Sherbert. Like that used to be my squad. So
okay, fair enough. Okay, so now you get to college. You picked Iowa, right? Offensive line going in. How long were you at Iowa before you made your next move?
I was at Iowa for 5 years.
Okay.
Didn't play my first.
What was that program like? So now you're in Iowa. You stepped there day one. Tell me what it was like between day one and you're leaving. How did you change as an individual, mindset, the pros versus non? Like, what was the shaping like at Iowa?
Everything changed, man, from day one to that last day. Mm-hmm. So I got a 1-year-old in the background.
Hey, listen, we're all, I should say we're all, but as a parent, there's never an apology for that, man.
But I came in as a 6'3", 200, and my first day I was 221 as an offensive lineman. To my last day, I was 6'3", 285. So they put 60 pounds of muscle, and it was muscle. It wasn't like it was fat. I had the, and I'll call him the best trainer in the country was Chris Doyle at the time. So people might know him. He's the coach that got in trouble with the Jaguars that they picked up, and then 2 days later they had to fire. That was my trainer. But he was the best. He's the best trainer in the league, hands down. It is what it is. But
sure.
They make a man out of you really quick. They really do. For my 5 years, 54 guys either quit or they got kicked off the team. So that's a ton of players. 54. Me and Mike Daniels, we counted them. It was 54 guys that either left or got kicked off the team. So to be in a program that vigorous where guys are leaving at that rate, it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough.
Okay. Do you continue to watch kids from Iowa? Are you still connected to the program in any form?
Yeah, I still watch the guys. I'm still connected with Coach Ferentz. My offensive line coach at the time was Coach Morgan. I still keep in contact with him. He's one of the gurus of O-line. He had, in my 5 years there, he had, I think it was 11 or 12 offensive linemen drafted, and 18 went to the league in 5 years. So again, he's one of the gurus offensive line that nobody, I guarantee, has heard about. So,
Hey,
and I still
listen,
talk to some of the younger guys too. So
the Giants could use a good offensive line coach. I'm gonna go ahead and
they
say
need
that
it.
publicly
They
out
need it,
loud.
bro.
They
Trust
could
me,
use it, like make some phone calls, push the brother, and like, look, yo,
man.
we'll make some
They
calls.
had they had a they had a cold offensive line. They had Mike Solari. When Mike
Yeah,
Solari was there,
yep.
when I mean he was one of and still is one of the best offensive line coaches in the league that they had, that they got rid of. Man, he is still one of my favorite offensive line coaches. He's the top 2 in the league for me.
Okay, all right. So at that point, let me ask you now. You have some alumni on the Giants, right? Dane Belton. What do you think about Dane Belton? You familiar with his game at all? You've been able to again. I don't know how much you're keeping in touch between your day job and the Giants, or just football generally speaking. So, any familiarity with Dane Belton's game and your thoughts on him?
Dane is going to be nice. He kind of reminds me of Geno Stone, who's in where is he? He is in Baltimore right now with the Ravens. They both
Yep,
came up in Iowa together, and they got that same kind of. They play slow, but when it's time to play, like he'll have a sneaky interception that you really don't know about, or he's always by the ball, or he's ready to hit you. Like he's got that all around game. He's only this is his second year because I remember he was hurt his first year.
that's correct. Yep, he's in his second year now.
It's his second year, and I think he's going to be really. I think he's going to be there for a while if
Yeah.
he is able to play like he's capable of playing. Like I know he can play. He's going to be there a long time. He's going to get paid.
Well, I'm hoping he sees a lot of snaps tomorrow. I'm hoping for a little bit of 3 safety sets tomorrow against San Francisco. That's my personal hope, just based on matchups. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm a fan. I'm a regular guy, not a scout, not an analyst, not nothing. But just based off my eyes, I would like to see him get a little bit of burn at that linebacker free safety. Got great speed, played a lot. He played enough free safety last season where I didn't see him get burned. So I'd be happy to see him, play that position at that point. So now it comes time. Now the NFL's on your. When does the NFL fall on your radar, or the other way around? When does somebody say to you, you know what, this should be on your radar?
So I got hurt my junior year and ended up playing like 4 or 5 games. Got hurt again, didn't play the rest of my junior year. So at the end of that year, my coach came up to me because I was kind of pissed. I'm like, I'm not playing. Like I was healthy those last 2 games. You could have put me in the game, but he didn't. He let the senior play because he really didn't play before, and they wanted to make sure he got some snaps because he was a senior. I get it, but I'm the better player, so you play the better player. But, I got it. And the coach was like, you are a great player. The guy next to your right, my right tackle, he's going to get drafted. We're going to have a first-round pick at left tackle. And then, our center is going to be really good. It was the coach's son, and he was like, he's probably going to get drafted. So they have no other reason but to look at you because they're looking at everybody else. So you need to just have a great senior season, play all 16 games. If you can do that, I can guarantee you either go free agency or you get drafted. And for me, again, I wasn't thinking about it. I'm like, okay, it is what it is. I just want to get my degree. I want to get a job. And I just want to be a productive citizen. I wasn't even thinking about football. But when he said that to me, that's when it kind of clicked. And I was like, all right, let's get it. Let's kick it into gear. I only got 16 more games left. So let's put it into gear.
What'd you end up majoring in?
Communications, mass communications.
Okay. And now let's just fill everybody in. I know we jump a little bit, but it's just like a conversation, right? What were you able to end up doing with that degree? Now let's talk a little bit about post football. You fill me in a little bit. What are you doing today? And what's that transition been like? And we'll work our way backward. But now that you brought it up, right? I just wanted to get a job. Well, you got both of those now. What's that like?
So it's different for everybody. You got your guys that are a little bit more famous, like RG3 and guys like that leave football, stay in the football realm. They're on TV 24/7. It's great, but that's 1% of the league. So a lot of us have to go out and find that transition that fits them. So for me, it was a little bit tougher. So I took a year off, and then I was like, okay, let me go ahead and do something. I don't want to sit here and do nothing. That's just not how I live. I need to go grind. So I ended up getting with American Income Life, which is an insurance company. So I sold insurance for a year. And then I decided, okay, I want to do more for my clients. So I decided to become a financial advisor at Mass Mutual of Greater Houston. So Strategic Financial Group of Mass Mutual of Greater Houston. It's a long name.
Sure.
So that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to get these guys right. I work with everybody, but I really want to get back into the NFL realm. and stop that trend. Everybody's heard that 80% of guys are going broke. Well, a lot of that has to do with guys having terrible financial advisors behind them or people in their ears telling them, oh, yeah, go spend that money. Go have a good time. Go do that. But they're not telling them, okay, put this money in an investment. Put this money in a hedge fund in your 401k. Put it in insurance. It doesn't matter, So I just want to make sure guys are taken care of, on and off the field. Like I said, I don't just work with food. I work with everybody, but
Sure.
Just making sure everybody is taken care of, they're on the right track, and they're able to leave a legacy for their families. That's what I'm all about.
Or at the very least, stop putting your money into assets that don't depreciate, right? Just straight liability that once I've spent the money, I'm not going to get anything back at the end of the day. So yeah, absolutely. Even if you're
Car
not going to,
washes.
yeah, even if it might be a storefront. Even if you're not going to necessarily put it into investment, fair enough. Don't blow it in the wrong direction. But the goal should be, and like Darius said, right? I'm gonna go ahead and pop this up. But like Darius said, that you need to, you got to get that generational wealth. And that starts with the investments, knowing what to do, financial literacy, which doesn't really exist in sports, or at least it doesn't come across in the same way. That you got the right people there teaching financial literacy. So
Right.
you're doing that. That's your day job today. Let's transition back now. 2012 draft comes up, right? Here you are. Did you have an agent? Number one. And if you had an agent, what were the expectations set for you? And then what were your personal expectations based off of what you were hearing? Because obviously there's communication on the inside you have. So what were you thinking about as that time comes on?
I had zero expectations, bro. Literally zero. Like, I wasn't on the map. Had a great senior season. Played Devin Steele. I forgot the boy from Michigan State. Penn State guy. Couple Michigan guys. All those guys went first, second, third rounds, and I played really well against them. I don't think I gave up one sack to any of those guys, and it was a fluke sack. But had a great season. I was getting ready for the combine, or not the combine, the NFL Pro Day, because I wasn't invited to the combine at first. Like I said, going in with no expectations. All I'm hearing is free agency. If you do go, you're still a little guy. I was only 285 at the time. Then if you do go, free agency. So I'm grinding in Arizona. I'm training with Charles Bentley, one of the guys of offensive line.
Yeah.
And he, to this day, I'm thankful that he was in my corner, because he is one of the best when it comes to the knowledge of the game and how to get you right. So I was training with him. And 2 weeks before the NFL Combine, I get a call. Hey, you want to do the NFL Combine? I'm like, yeah. Appreciate it. I've been waiting on the call, but, it is what it is. So, again, went into the NFL Combine, no expectations. I knew I was going to do well, but I didn't know how well I was going to do. So I went in, ran a 4.9 140, weighed in at like 295, broad jump 9.4. So I had the fastest 40, the second longest broad jump, I think the second or third highest vertical. So I won the Underwear Olympics, I think it was called. They called it the Underwear Olympics. And that's when I really jumped on the boards. They were predicting me to go fourth or fifth round. And then my agent is Blake. Well, at the time it was Blake Barrett of Institute of, I forgot what we were called. It's been a minute, but he's out of Minnesota.
Okay.
And
how did you think about the agent? Did he approach you? How did that even work out? Like, how does one get an agent? That's the first question, right? If I'm in perspective, I'm in this world of college. All of a sudden now, there's rumor mills or something of I have a chance. How does that whole world work where you go from college athlete to, oh, here's an agent who's going to help me in my next step?
Right. So for me, it's different for everybody, but for me, Adrian Claiborne was one of the guys that was in the NFL already. We played together at Iowa, and our families really clicked. And I just asked him, like, "Hey, bro, like, who's your agent?" He got Adrian fully guaranteed contract at the number 20 pick, and that was the first. He was the first person to ever. He was the first person to get a fully guaranteed contract at pick number 20. And my agent did that. So I'm like, okay, so he can do some work. So I went to him and was like, hey, I'm Adam. Nice to meet you. Let's link up. Let's get this figured out. Talk to whoever you need to talk to. Like, I want to be on your team. And he was like, all right, bet. So he saw, like, just being an Iowa offensive lineman, we already have a reputation for being great players in the league. And anytime you hear coaches say Iowa football in the NFL, they're like, oh, yeah, we want you. So he was like, okay, I can make some money off this guy. So that's just, I get it. That's how it goes. I make money, he makes money, we make money together. So that's how I ended up getting my agent.
Okay, excellent. So you're back on the radar. You're working with Bentley. Now all of a sudden it's fourth, fifth round. You get the combine. You're crushing it. Combine's over. Where are you now mentally? Again, preparing for getting ready. How are you feeling now as to maybe where you did a month ago to 2 months ago? Your expectations. How is the psychological, mental aspect, right, from where you started to where you are to where you potentially believe you're going?
So after the combine, because you don't know how fast you run, you don't know anything until you actually like leave the complex and you get to look at your phone, because you're not able to look at your phone or do anything during the workout. So you work out, you literally work out, you go back to your hotel room, and then you fly back to wherever you came from. So as soon as I got to my hotel room, I'm checking, Twitter, and all of a sudden I see my name, like I'm trending on Twitter, like, okay, dag, I knew I ran good, but I didn't know it was that good. So then I see, ESPN talking about it. Oh yeah, he's an unknown guy, but he's looking like a fourth, fifth, sixth round pick. He's still a little guy, but he has potential. A couple weeks later, my agent's like, okay, I'm getting calls from different teams. The Texans called, the Bears called, a whole bunch of teams called. And the Texans said, hey, we're looking to get you on, I think it was the third pick it was the first pick of the third round. So I was like, okay, bet I'm going to the Texans. So in my head, I'm going to the Texans after I hear that from my agent. So draft day comes, I'm at my grandmother's house, got my family with me. Some people do it. They go to the draft. Some people go to the bar, have a good time. I was like, I came up with my family. I grew up in Chicago. Like this is me. This is where I'm from. We're gonna all celebrate together. So first round goes, second round goes, third round comes up. Texans pick. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna be me. Let's go. And then it said Brandon Brooks, out of Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, also a guard, right?
I was like, who the hell is Brandon Brooks? Like, he wasn't in the combine. Like, nobody knew who he was. He was big as hell at the time. He was like 330, 340 at the time. He's a big dude. I'm like, okay, you told me all this. You called me to a couple picks before that pick saying you're going to give me, but it didn't happen. So I was a little down at that point. And then two rounds later, third, fourth round, and fifth round comes up. Third pick in the fifth round, Washington comes across the board, and I get a phone call. I think it was 571 number at the time.
Yeah, that's Virginia. 57 was that Virginia number. Yep.
And Mike Shanahan was like, "Hey, this is Mike Shanahan." I'm like, "No shit." Excuse me, I don't know about, but I was like, "For real?" He was like, "Yeah, this is Mike Shanahan. We want to draft you to the Washington Redskins. Welcome to the team. Here's Chris Forster, the offensive line coach. Let's go. You'll be here next week." I was like, next week? I can't even really enjoy this. Like, I'm gonna be gone next week. He was like, yeah. So be ready to go. So literally, just like that, I got drafted and enjoyed that night and loved it.
Now, did you have any visits? Was it just straight? I went to the combine. No 30s. No really Did you have any conversation with teams, or it was just sit back and it's a surprise no matter what happens now for me?
Pretty much. So I talked to the who did I talk to at the combine? I talked to the Arizona Cardinals. So the combine talking to teams is so weird. So each team has a hotel room, and it is filled with all the coaches, the GM, sometimes the president of the team. So going to the Cardinals room because they invited me in, and I forgot who the coach was at the time, but it was everybody. It's like 25 dudes in a two-bed hotel room. I'm just like, this is a little weird, but so they had a TV in there, and they were like, all right, we're gonna go over the first 10 plays of your Michigan State game. So they just critiquing me. Why'd you cut this guy? Why'd you do this? I'm like, well, I want to win. Like, what do you mean? Why'd you do this? Like, I'm trying to beat the guy in front of me. Like, isn't that the name of the game? I didn't say that, but
that's what you're thinking, right? But now you're trying to articulate it because that's what they're trying to. Because the obvious question, well, why did you hit the guy? Well, that's what I'm supposed to do. But now they're trying to obviously figure out how you either articulate or process. I'm assuming.
Right, and then just being the offensive lineman, being the guard in the center, and like we're some of the smartest guys on the field, so that was easy to do. So I did end up talking to Oakland and the Cardinals at the combine. But other than that, I didn't talk to anybody. No visits, no nothing. Like there was no
Any
contact.
any weird questions? We always get somebody ask you like a weird personal question, something asked is like, did you have any questions that made you kind of raise your eyebrows? Like, why are you asking me this internally?
I didn't get the weird ones. I heard about people getting weird questions.
Sure.
I guess the one I did get, it was from Oakland, and it was the Michigan State game. I cut back to go cut a guy, and he ended up getting up. He didn't make the play, but he was like, "Why would you cut a guy on the backside of the play?" And I'm like, "Well, that's what you do as an offensive lineman on the backside of a play. It was just you can, if you're man, you cut the guy, and it creates a hole on the backside." I'm like, again, I'm thinking that I didn't articulate it that way, but I'm like,
Sure.
that's offensive line 101. Like you should know this shit. Like
Yeah.
that's easy, but I guess he was just trying to see where my head was at. But that was the weirdest question that I got.
All right, that's not so bad. So now you get drafted, boom, life changing almost, if you will, right? Because you went, like you said, Chicago. I didn't even pick up football and pass till I was 14. Here I am, what, 8 years later, 9 years later, something along those lines. Now I'm a professional in the NFL. Fifth round, Washington picks you up. What is that process like from the time they call you, you get drafted, now you got to go to the facility? How'd you figure out where am I going to live? Where are all these different pieces? Because outside looking in, I have no idea. So what is that actual process like of now moving and going to be an employee somewhere in the NFL? What is that like?
It's a crazy process. Again, like the day I talked to Mike Shanahan, he was like, "You coming next week, next Thursday? You got to be here." And I'm like, "Okay, bet." So you get, I think it was 5 to 7 days off before you got to fly there. Luckily, my uncle lived in Bowie, Maryland, which is not too far from
Right.
Ashburn. It's about 40 minutes away. So he already started looking for me a place to live, and I already had all that taken care of before I even got there. It's a blessing that I had, my family there to take care of that. So they took care of that for me. I was able to stay at a nice apartment not too far from Ashburn, and like I said, I was pretty set up. The other guys, they had to fly down, try to figure out life. I already bought a car at that time, and I already had it figured out because I had family down there, which was a blessing. But you have to find a place within 7 days. They put you in a hotel for 7 days. If you don't, after that 7 days, you have to start paying on that hotel. Yeah, right away. We haven't even got our signing bonuses yet, but yeah,
That's like consignment almost. Like, listen, you got 7 days and you're on your own, buddy.
Yep, that's exactly how it is. You got 7
Okay.
days.
Now, is
You
that
still,
now? Let me ask you this question: is that the same treatment for every draft pick?
I want to say it is. Yeah,
Okay.
because RG was the same way.
Gotcha.
He was in the hotel with us too. I
Yeah,
think he already had a vehicle, if I remember correctly, but he didn't have a place yet. So they were still looking for a house and all that. So I think it's the same process.
sure.
Yeah.
All right. So now you're there. Now you're in the pros, going against
Mhm.
other pros, getting paid to be pros. What was that competition change like? What was the coaching change like from college to the pros? Right now you're at the next level. Tell me some of the things that immediately just made you go, "Wow, this is different," or "Oh,
Mhm.
this isn't so bad." Like, what were some of the things that were your immediate processing thoughts early in your career? What was that first year like for you?
It was actually so fun because I went to a Power Five school. I went to Iowa, one of the better offensive linemen. It's a Big Ten school. Redskins at that time, we were running the ball, running a lot of play action. And I had some of the best coaching again coming out of college. It's pretty much a pro program coming out of college with Coach Ferentz. Coach Ferentz, he's been there for like 29 years now, forever. So he knows what he's doing. He's been a pro coach. He coached for the Browns. I think it was under Belichick at one time. Um, one of the best. So he ran his college like a pro team. So I could see the difference from me. And there was a kid from I think it was like Tulane or something. And I just remember him struggling so bad because he didn't have those fundamentals that I had. And I'm like, this has got to be because of where we came from. Like, you came from a
Sure.
smaller school compared to, having a great coach like Coach Ferentz and Coach Morgan. And a lot of those guys were struggling. It literally just were struggling coming out. And I'm just sitting there like, dang, I'm actually kind of decent out here. I'm a 5th round pick. I'm still only 285 at the time, 280. But I'm handling myself against, guys like Brian Arakpo and those guys, London Fletcher back in the day. So I'm like, okay, I could do this. And then we had a 3rd round pick who came from SMU, Josh Laribas, good buddy of mine. And at first he was struggling. Again, I think it's just the colleges we went to and that fundamentals. But he's also a great player, and he finally ended up getting it. But I think it took me a little bit. It was a little bit quicker transition than for him.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that first year was fun. It was really fun.
All right. When you got to the league, was there a specific player you like? I want to go up against this guy. Here's the measuring stick. Here's the bar. Here's a guy I just want to play against. And it could be for any reason. Is the hype real? Can I hold myself against? Was there any individual or individuals like that for you?
My first year, if anybody, I think it was Dominican Sue at that time. Dominican Sue was, I think he's a year older. I think he's only a year older than me, but I remember watching him in college and how he dominated at Nebraska. And I'm like, I know I'm going to get an opportunity to play this guy one day. Like, I need to play this guy to see where I am, because I'm holding myself up well against the guys, on my team. But I need to go see if, I can actually do this. So I was like, I wanted to play him. And Jared Crick was another guy from Nebraska. And I was like, that guy was a monster. I thought Jared Crick was going to be better than oh boy. So those are the two guys I was like, okay, out of college, I was like, okay, I want to play those two guys. A guy that was already in the pros, yeah, I'm not sure. It was just those two guys for me, really.
Sure. So when you were with Washington 2 seasons, I believe, 2012.
Yeah, and 2 seasons in the camp.
So you were there. What was it like going against, there you go, like a London Fletcher or a Rakpo, if you will? I mean, those guys were beasts at their time. So when you had to go one-on-one with those guys in any drill or otherwise, did you feel like I can hang, or it was like these guys are a little bit different?
No, it was never a point where I was like, these guys are just way better than me. Yeah. It was always, I can do this, I can hang. And you have to have that mentality when you're in the league. There's no way you can last in the league that long if you have that mentality like, sure, oh, I know this guy is gonna beat me. So I've always had that mentality like, no, I'm just as good as everybody else, if not better. So, it was never a time. Well, I'll say this. So me and London Fletcher, we had I was pulling on the play. I had a power play. And during that power play, he saw me pulling. He said, 73 is going to pull, 73 is going to pull. So I'm like, all right, but he knows it's coming. I got to put my head down on this guy or I'm going to get hurt. So I pull around in the hole. London sitting in the hole. I put my head down. He put his head down. Boom. We both concussed. We out for like a week and a half. So we go in the training room. He was like, young fella. And at this point, he was like, I think 12 or 13 years in the league at that point. He's like, young fella, we can't do this ever again. I'm like, I know, man, but you called me out. You said I was going to be in the hole, so I had to put my head down. He's like, you have to learn how to play the game. You have to learn how to practice first, son. I was like, all right, bet I'll learn. Because for me, it's different for a player that's played in the league that long and that's a starter. Sure. How to practice. You practice sometimes a little bit slower. You're trying to save yourself for games, but being a backup, being a rookie coming in, you don't really know how to practice. So I was out there, for me, every day was game day, right. And then being a smaller guy too, I'm just trying to live, so I'm out there trying to lay it on people all the time.
So you get your first start, I believe, in 2013, and it just so happens to be against one of the guys you named, I believe, right? Because you play the Lions, and there's Sue. I'm assuming in 2013 he was still with Detroit. So you got to go up against him a little bit. What was that like a little bit? Because that's one of the things we wanted. How was it?
Bro's a monster. I will never deny that. He's a monster. He's a monster during the play and after the play. So yeah, there's a couple times where he got in there and did some things, but he was a hell of a player, man, and that's why he got paid pretty much everywhere he went, because he knew how to play defensive tackle. He's one of the strongest guys I've ever played with or played against. Reggie White, like, I never played against Reggie White, obviously, but strength-wise, I guarantee he's up there, strength-wise with Trent Williams. Like, the dude was a monster. So, yeah, we played well against him, though.
All right, so you get waived. Here's the business in 2014. Did you see that coming? What was that like? Were you like, what happened? Because now we're talking the business side, right? Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about what that's like for the player. I mean, all fans see is a name, a transaction. Nobody knows what goes behind that for the individual. So give me a little bit of the human side. That what is that like to say, hey, you know what, your service is no longer needed. Appreciate you. Have a good time.
So they got rid of Mike Shanahan. They brought in Jay Gruden. Um, Obviously, he did nothing with the Redskins at the time. Obviously, but it was 22 guys that played the year before, and I want to say 18 to 19 guys got released of guys that played, started, or was even in games the year before. Of course, he's bringing his own guys, his own coaches. So camp comes automatically. I'm not one of his guys, so I'm playing third string. I'm like third string, I started it, and I played, and I'm like, okay, whatever. He drafted a couple guys, Spencer Long and Morgan Moses. Brought in Sean Laval, that he was one of his guys. And I'm just like, all right, it is what it is. So, right away in camp, I'm like, okay, I kind of see where this is going, but hey, you never know. So, a couple preseason games, play well. Third preseason game, play really well against Baltimore. But again, if you're not a coach's guy or they just want to revamp the team, that's a part of the business. So like I said, he let a lot of us go. So I got let go. I sat at home for 4 weeks, talking to different teams, really in contact with Kansas City and Scott Pioli at the time. And then I think the fourth or fifth week, the Steelers called. I'm like, okay, Steelers bet. So I came and did a workout for the Steelers. It was me and Brewster from Ohio State. And they were like, all right, we want you to play center. You ever play center? I said, no. He was like, well, if you want to be a Steeler, you got to play center, and you're gonna do a workout as a center. It's like, I ain't played center since my sophomore year in high school, but I'm about to get this check. So I'll play Brewster. They love me. And they're like, all right, we want you to be a Steeler. And I signed a contract that day to be on their practice squad. So then I started revamping my career from there.
All right, you're on the practice squad. What was it? Maybe 2 months later, not even 2 months later, Giants come and scoop you up. Now, what is that process like? Is that something you know? Do they call you and contact you, or is it just a transaction like, oh, okay, this happens? Again, outside looking in, how does that happen in the background?
So I forgot. So I worked out for the Giants maybe 2 weeks before I got the workout with Pittsburgh. So I get to the Giants. They tell me, all right, we're gonna sign you. You're doing the workout and everything, but we're gonna sign you, put you on practice squad because you're a good player. And at the time, Coach Flaherty was the offensive line coach, another great coach, and he worked me out at the combine. Yes. And he was like, I worked you out at the combine, and I loved you, at Iowa. We just weren't able to get you. You were a smaller guy at the time. So I was like, okay, bet. So at the workout that day, I think Hankins or somebody, a D tackle, got hurt in one of the games. The day of my workout. So they had to take a defensive lineman instead of taking me, just because I think it was Hankins at the time got hurt. So I forgot Dominique, I forgot his name, but they took him instead of me. So that's why I ended up 2 weeks later going to Pittsburgh. But they were like, hey, keep the phone open because we still like you a lot. The workout went really well. If we need you, we're just going to take you off whatever practice squad you want. So I was like, okay, bet. So that's when, I think it was late December, they called me and we're like, hey, we want to bring you in. Such and such got hurt. We want you to be able to come in and play if need be. So I ended up going to the Giants for the last 2 games. We played St. Louis. That was the big fight in St. Louis. Yes. So that was fun.
That was with Alec Ogletree and Odell and that whole thing, if you will.
I'm in all those pictures pulling people out.
And you're of that same draft, right? You're in Odell's draft. Yeah. He was drafted in the first round of that same draft, 2012.
No, Odell, I think is
14. Sorry, 14. My bad.
He's 14. Yeah, he's 14. He's a little younger.
So okay. So that whole happens. Tell me what the workout's like when a guy goes into a workout to a new team, to a new facility. Give me a little bit about what is that like? Like what is actually happening in that workout?
Just like it sounds. They literally bring you in. So they fly you in either the night before or the day of. Usually the night before, they fly you to a hotel. They give you a money voucher. You go get something to eat, go to bed. Usually at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, they're like, all right, you got to work out at 6:30. We're going to pick you up from the hotel and you're going to do a workout. So with the Giants, I get to the Giants facility. They have these T-shirts with numbers on them, no names, some cleats, some shorts, and that's your little workout gear. And so you go into the bubble on the indoor practice facility, and all the coaches are there. I think the owner was there at the time. I can't think of the owner's name. That's so bad.
John Mara.
Mara, not Tish, right. Yep. So Mara was there. He's standing there with his arm. He's always got his arms folded. But hey, stop, son. Go in the other room. But Mara's there with his arms folded. So you stretch with the strength and conditioning coach. Then the offensive line coach comes out, and you go through about 10 to 15. Well, it depends. If it's a player that they know they already want, that they want, to have on the team, workouts are between 5 to 10 minutes, which is really nice. Or if it's, you'll have like maybe 5 or 6 guys that are with you. If they're not sure about you, they'll bring like 4 or 5 guys with you, other offensive linemen, and they'll work you out for like 15 to 20 minutes. But with the Giants, they already kind of knew they wanted me. So it was me. I think I was the only offensive lineman that worked out that day. And
you had already previously worked you out, right? They're just bringing you. Oh, so this is the first time. I apologize. This is the first time. First time, yep.
Right. And they work you out for those 5 minutes. You shake hands. I shook hands with Mara. Shook hands with I can't talk. That's so bad. Who was the coach at the time? Coughlin. I'm so bad with names. Coach Coughlin, I love you. I know we had our thing, but I love you. But J Fund, I still represent the J Fund. Hey, I still contribute to the J Fund. So, but shook everybody's hands, and they're like, okay, we like you. Such and such got hurt, so we got to go with Dominique. I forgot his name. Dominique Hamilton was his name. One of my dogs. So they took Dominique Hamilton. But that's how the workouts go. They're pretty chill. Then you take a shower, put your clothes back on. They give you a plane ticket and you leave. You go right back home. Literally that quick.
Okay. So now so far you've hit Washington. That was what RG3 Kirk Cousins situation. That's what was going on there. You jump over to Pittsburgh. You got Roethlisberger. I don't know how much time interaction you spent on that end. Now you got Eli happening. Tell me what's like moving from those different quarterbacks. Just general thoughts on those different guys, different scenarios. How does that play up to you and your jobs and roles and responsibilities coming in on the offensive line?
Once you get cut and you get to another team, I don't know, but that light bulb kicks in and you become thankful and you want to do more for that team. So when I got to Pittsburgh, I was like, okay, time to put it in the gear like I did my senior year in college. Like I'm put my head down, do what I got to do, extra film, workouts, whatever. I'm in there. Like I was working out with James Harrison was my training partner, and y'all see how he work out. I was in there with him. So we trained together in Arizona at PEP in Scottsdale. So we already knew each other. So I work out with him. So it was whatever I got to do to get on the field. Obviously, it didn't happen with Pittsburgh, but the same thing with the Giants. Did the same thing. Went down, had my head down. Whatever I got to do. Play center, guard, don't matter. Scout team, don't matter. I'm going to work my ass off and do whatever I got to do to get on the field. But the different maturations of the quarterbacks was really cool to see. So RG3, again, one of my boys still, great dude, great football player, but he's still young. He's a rookie, rookie second year guy compared to a Roethlisberger. I got to see how his process was, and he had great receivers at the time. AB, Martavius Bryant. He had some dogs, man. Forgot the tight end. He was there forever. And watching him, how he studied and what he did compared to RG. And then I went over to the Giants, and it was kind of the same thing between Roethlisberger and Eli, how they studied. Those guys are in the building at like 5 o'clock, and then they don't leave till like 8, 9 o'clock at night, just studying with the centers and, just being on it 24/7. It was really cool to see. RG did the same thing, but it's still a difference between a second-year quarterback and a Super Bowl winning quarterback. in Eli.
Yeah, and multiple at that point when you're with
Yep.
both teams, they're already hitting their multiples. I mean, Roethlisberger
Yep.
went very, very early, and then once again second, and then we had that 4-year span for Eli. So when you're there, you're dealing with two timers, already been there, know the deal, know their preparation and team. Any fun little Eli stories?
You know what? The Eli you see now on TV? What is the Peyton and Eli show or the Manning show?
Yeah, Manning.
That was not Eli back in the day, man. Like he was very quiet, very chill. Like nobody. He really didn't. He talked to a couple guys, but he kind of kept to himself. But any interaction with him, he tried to make you smile, which was really cool. And you know, I kind of got it because he was an older guy talking to a lot of younger guys because he's already played. I think by the time I got there, he might have been like 8 or 9 years in.
You came, was it 2015 or was it
14,
14, right? So when they first scooped you up, because I mean, there was released, waived, brought back, released, waived, second stint, you know, with the Giants a little bit back and forth.
Yeah.
So when you're coming in at 14, he's in year 10 at that point.
Year 10, my goodness. So
Yeah,
being
a 04, and so was Roethlisberger, right? Same draft class there.
Same draft. So for him, he's a 32-year-old man trying to talk to Odell, who is 21 years old. You know, it's a little tough, you know, maturity levels trying to talk to younger guys. So I get it. You know, I think the guy for the Rams is going through it right now. What's the old quarterback? Stafford's going through it right now with he's 40 talking to these 20-year-old guys. He's like, how do I relate?
Sure.
So I definitely understand that relation. It's tough.
What was the dynamic really like with the Odell scenario? Now, I don't need you to badmouth anyone. You don't have to share anything you don't want. Just out of curiosity, again, outside looking in, was it as bad as it looked sometimes? Was it really a maturation thing? Was it really a type of thing? Or was it so much blown out of proportion because, well, that's what happens in this market?
No, when there's no bad mouth in it, like I keep it real regardless of anything. Sure. When I mean that was one of my favorite locker rooms to be in, hands down one of my favorite locker rooms to be in. All the guys clicked, all the guys we jumping, dancing, having a good time all the time, and that's why that year, what was it, 2016, we went to the playoffs because
you played your favorite team, right? That was your favorite team you got to play.
Exactly.
You played the Packers, and that didn't go too well.
Right? But we meshed so well together as a team. Not that was McAdoo's first or second year.
Oh,
like it just clicked, man. It just clicked. But Odell, when he's with the boys, he's cool with everybody. Like it didn't matter if you were Jason Pierre-Paul or you were just me or you know the lowest practice squad guy. He talked to everybody. Took us to dinners. Guy could barely show his face. You know, he had to have a hood on everywhere anytime we went downtown New York.
Yeah, I mean,
but he made sure we were taken care of.
He became global famous pretty quickly.
Really quick. Really quick.
So tell me about Ben McAdoo. Was he as bad of a head coach as it seems to everybody else, or what was your impression of him? And I don't mean like again, I don't care about personality or how was he as an individual. I'm talking about as a coach. What was your takeaway of him again? He also came from your team of the Packers, if you will. Yeah. What was it like playing for him?
Snacks put out a tweet about a month ago or a couple of weeks ago. He said Ben McAdoo wasn't the problem. It was the players. It legit was the players. I know from outside looking in, everybody's like, oh, you guys go from 10-6 to 3-13. That we got to have somebody to blame. It was McAdoo. No, man, it was really us. And a lot of guys will tell you, like I said, Snacks tweeted about it. Like McAdoo was a hell of a coach, and we played for him our first year. And when things started not to go right, that second year, a lot of guys stopped playing for him and kind of just gave up towards the end of the season. And that was the big thing. Like I said, McAdoo was a hell of a coach. He came from a Green Bay. He had Aaron Rodgers. You know, he really had us going. He switched up how we practiced, and we played so much better in 2016 where Coughlin, we were hitting 24/7.
Yep.
Well, McAdoo brought in pretty much kind of the Green Bay style. So we go hard on Wednesday and Thursday, but Friday we take the pads off. We practice a little bit. We do some yoga. We get our bodies right. You know, we're in the film room, extra couple hours. Like he had the process. He had the knowledge and he put that on us, and that's why we were able to play so well in 16. But like I said, once we had an inkling of that we weren't playing well in 17, it's woe is me, it's over. A lot of guys gave up, and that's what really killed us.
You're now the third person to kind of say the same thing, right? When I talked to DRC, he said the same thing. I was like, man, what the hell happened, right? What went wrong? He was like, look, there was stuff happening in the background with certain players. And again, no naming names because he didn't want to. I didn't ask him to. But he said there were things happening in the background where there were guys who probably had expectations who weren't even practicing, weren't even doing what they were supposed to do, but they were still playing on game day. It was like, yeah, no big deal. I don't need to practice. Again, I have no idea. I have inklings of who he's referring to, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
But from that side, you're now Snacks is saying that you're kind of saying it's like the third person to say it's kind of like, well, what happened? There had to be either people just don't. There had to be something a little bit more that made people just go, you know what, I'm out on this because you're essentially playing for careers almost. So it's got to be. What else could it really be other than that? Or is it that's just what it was? It was just a handful of guys who were just like, we're checking out people, maybe followed suit. I don't know.
So, like, I know I'm not the only one to say it, though, but again, McAdoo was a hell of a coach, but it really just came down to, like you said, we sit some guys out from practice on a Wednesday, Thursday just to get their bodies ready. But when it came time to hit on Sunday, they couldn't put them pads down just because, you have to have that feel of hitting Wednesday and Thursday. But then it got to the point where guys were like, well, if he ain't practicing, why do I got to practice?
Right.
Little stuff like that. And it's like, no, you still got to grind. I get it. But when it's your time to, get your time, and you've been a vet for a while and you got to chill, and when Sundays come, you got to go out there and ball. And a lot of people just didn't ball when it was time to. And they had to have a scapegoat. That in New York, we're the biggest spectacle in the NFL. I feel like at that time, because New York media, period, is just it's wild. Jets, Giants, whatever.
You saw what happened after week 1. I mean, they got the the brakes beaten off of them in Dallas, and the media just was like, yes, this is great for us. And I mean, the spins were unreal by everybody on it. But that's what happens, right? That's how quickly it can turn here. That's how easily it turns in this media market. So we always hear this saying, and I don't know if it applies to you or not, right? You always hear once a giant, always a giant. You hear this from players who've played for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Why is that? What is it about being in that building or with this franchise at some point in your career makes it feel like this is a forever home? Or that's how it comes across to us. What does that saying really mean to somebody? Do you, number one, do you subscribe to that philosophy first and foremost? And if you do, why is that?
I do subscribe to that philosophy. A lot of guys can't, some guys, they'll be there for 3 or 4 years, but they don't have that feeling of, okay, once a giant, always a giant, because it's not like that for everybody. But if the team is able to embrace you, the owners, the guys on the other side, the marketing team, if they're able to embrace you, they love to bring you in and give you whatever you want. And they really did that for me. Again, I was a backup guy. I only started 1 or 2 games for the Giants.
Sure.
But I did a lot of stuff outside for the Giants, like with the marketing team and community service. I was doing community service like 3 times a week, just trying to help the community, just because that's what I love to do. So, of course, once they started seeing me doing that, management started to give me whatever I needed, which was amazing. So that's when they really brought me in, and coaches started talking to me more. Me and Spags got really close. Steve Spagnuolo. We'd sit down and during lunch, and I was the scout team center, and we would just go over plays of. He asked me, "What do you think I need to do on this blitz if you guys are doing like a 3-jet?" And like we just go back and forth for hours. And once they saw that, they're like, "Okay, this guy can be a giant. Like this is what it takes to be a giant. Like let's bring him into the culture." And they brought me in, and it's been like that ever since. I'm always a Giants fan, and I never was a Giants fan before. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know nothing about the Giants.
Sure.
So I got to the Giants, but when Jersey and New York started embracing me, and I was embracing going, having a good time in Jersey and New York. That's when I was like, okay, this is my second home. I love it. I'm with the alumni program now. They actually offered me a job in the office. I just didn't take it at the time in their community service.
No, you need to, so then I can get a job through you. Like this is how it works, bro. Like you
I
gotta
know.
work all the way through.
I was this close to taking it, but I'm like, I already moved to Houston. I'm already set up out here. Just to go back to New York and trying to figure it out again, I'm just like, I'm already established and settled in Houston. It's tough to come back.
Fair enough. Think
I
about it.
love New York though.
Think about it though. It's not too
Hey,
bad.
if they offer me again, you know, I'm pretty settled now. If they offer it to me again, I'll definitely think about it even
I know
more.
you got kids. School system's really good out here. You know, I mean, there's
Oh yeah.
pluses out here. So at that point, you know, playing career, you know, goes. Actually, my favorite part about reaching out to you and finding out to you is I remember your one game where you like were the starter. I remember in 2016, and it was like Adam Gettis the starter. I was like, I know this guy. I was like, I've heard this name, and it wouldn't click for me. I was like, I know this guy, and I was like, that's right. Cleveland on the road, you were the starting guard and played very well, and you guys won. Definitely even remember that. Now, since you are a Giants fan, do you keep up with any of the games at all?
Yeah, I try to watch as many as possible. The ones we get down here.
Sure. So your teammate was actually in the building today for a workout. Justin Pugh will actually officially, finally, he's been on Twitter almost campaigning, if you will, to at least come back or at least get a workout, very least, and very direct. It's not even like maybe he's interested. No, he's being black and white. Like, listen, bring me in. Let's talk about this. Very open and vocal, which I love. And I wasn't very pro it because from a standpoint of just football, 30 plus injuries, we already got some old guys, but man, Glowinski is so bad. I was like, shoot, I'll take Justin Pugh too because I just want to unseat this guy. As mean as that sounds, that's a fan side of me, right? Not the human side. I feel bad for him as an individual, but it's a production-based business, and you know that better than anybody else. You've been through that grind and ringer. There's got to be an aspect of production that comes with the gig of, oh, you want to play every snap? Well, you better do something with it because everyone's watching your every play, and that's how you're going to be critiqued. So Justin Pugh was in the building. Any insight on Justin? How was he as a teammate? What are your thoughts on him? You still keep in touch, that kind of scenario?
Justin's a great guy. He really brought us in as an offensive line when I got there in 14 and 15. And he's kind of one of the pillars of the Giants offensive line at the time.
Yep.
And he's a hell of a guy, man. I hit him up about a month ago, talked to him a little bit. Good dude, man. All around good dude. Can still play. I think he can still play. Like you said, the offensive line, they've been okay at the tackle positions, but inside, they do need some help. And would I love to see Justin in the blue again? I would love to see Justin in the blue again. But
listen, first round draft pick, he moved all over for us, right? Right tackle, left guard. I think he played a little bit of spot. I mean, he was all over the place for us, and he did better than probably most people will remember. He wasn't as bad, or whatever the case may be. He was better, but injuries obviously got the best of him. Went out to Arizona. Start of his career in Arizona was also injuries. End of his career was also injuries. Always a tough thing for just football players, I would say, generally. I'd be curious. I think any professional depth would be suitable for a team that's trying to obviously progress. Any thoughts on Evan Neal? My man is huge, very athletic, kind of struggling at that tackle position. And I don't know how much of it's him just overthinking it because it sure isn't the actual physical traits. The guy is an absolute bulldozer if he gets his hands on you. He's not getting his hands on you part is kind of the question here. So when you're somebody of that ilk, you've played on the line, you know what goes into it. Where do you think he's potentially, I don't want to say going wrong, but what do you think what's not clicking for him per se?
So he's left tackle, man, or right tackle. Is it Evans on the right?
That's correct.
And this is his second year, right?
Second year. This is the first time in his, I think, career since high school he's played the same position 2 years in a row, by the way. Even Alabama, they had him right guard, left tackle, left guard, right tackle. This is the first time for him in probably, I don't know how long. He's actually playing the same thing, and he missed 5 games last year with the MCL. Right. So he's only played 16 games in his career, even though it's the second year.
Exactly. So that's the tough part. You're in college, and you got to play every position in college, and then they tell you, okay, you have to play right tackle. This is all you need to do. It's tough because your body, for offensive linemen, everything is mind, muscle, memory. So each step you take is mind, muscle, memory. So if you're in there playing guard and they move you out to tackle, you're in your mind, your body's still going to be playing guard. You think you're going to be playing tackle, but your mind is still playing guard until you get a few more tackle reps. So for him, just being at right tackle is great for him. So for him, I feel like it's just, of course, they put, it's game plan. So between Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal, who are you going to put your best defensive end against? Andrew Thomas has been playing really well. Well, last year he played really well. One of the better tackles, I think, that played. You're going to probably put your better guy against Evan Neal. So, of course, he's going to get a little flack because he's going against the best defensive end, on the team. But for him to be settled in that position is going to be great for him. I think it's just going to take a little bit more time because he did have to play everything in college. So, and it's only been, like you said, 16 games?
Yeah.
It's only been 16 games.
16 games, yeah. So let me ask you, go on.
No, so for him, I think it's just going to be him settling in and slowing down the game because from what I've been watching, the game's is too fast for him right now. It's just too fast. Guys are getting their hands on him first, which I'm noticing a lot. But like you said, he has some of the best feet at offensive tackle that I've seen, coming out the draft. And him and Andrew Thomas got some great feet. But like you said, they're just not getting their hands on guys. And that's 80% of the work. If you're not getting your hands on guys, you're going to lose a lot.
Yeah, I mean, for offensive linemen, point of contact has to be obviously probably one of the most top priorities with everything else. If I'm not getting my hands on you, that means you're getting around me or through me, and that battle's already lost at that point.
Exactly.
If year 2 continues to not go very well for him, outside looking in, would you consider saying maybe you're better suited at right guard? Maybe you're better off being a guard than a tackle? Would that be a difficult transition and easy? Now, he's done it in college, but at the pro level, because you've played it, is that a difficult transition, one that you believe will probably cannot translate to success because of whether it's size, speed, muscle memory, whatever? Or do you think something like that is viable if you see a guy clearly struggling at a position? Is it a viable option to move him inside at that point?
I think it is. And somebody who did it wasn't the greatest tackle, but they moved him inside for another team, granted, but he ended up playing well, was Eric Flowers. We all know what happened to Eric Flowers,
Yes, we do.
He was.
It's not a name people like to hear.
Oh, I know. Me neither. But
there's 2 names that you can say in the Giants fandom that people want to kind of vomit and be angry. Eric Flowers is one. I think they were on the team. I think both of them were on the team with you, and Eli Apple's the other.
Eli. Okay, I thought you were gonna say Bobby Hart, but yeah.
Well, Bobby Hart for a 7th rounder obviously is going to get some slack because he was 7th rounder. Eli Apple and Eric Flowers, I think, went 9 and 10 in back-to-back drafts at their position, which is very high for really poor production. Now, that's a whole different conversation. But in that sense, yeah, maybe if, Jerry Reese team said, you know what, maybe we need to just maybe move you in a little bit. That could have been something because he was decent as a guard for at least Washington, 2 or 3 years.
He went to the Pro Bowl that year.
Something's better than nothing at that point. So you should always have that viability. But like you said, it's only been 16 games. He's almost at 1 full season. You can't just be like, well, you got to go now. No. You invested. He's got all the tools. You obviously want to give him a little opportunity. How much does the guy next to him matter? If you're watching tape, I mean, you look at those combo blocks when he was obviously pushing off. Glowinski was getting wrecked on every single one of those studs and every one of those plays. Like, it was ugly on that side. How much does that affect the right tackle? How much does the Lions' responsibility spread out more than just your job?
It's you have to be hand in hand with your guard. The best offensive lines, their guard and tackles are in sync all the time. Your center is your quarterback, but then your guards and your tackles are kind of like your queens. Like they have to be on point together at all times because, like you said, if a team stunts 50% of the game and you can't pick up that 50%, that's 50% of the snaps gone. As we saw in the game.
That's all that Dallas did. It was stunts, and Glowinski got killed every single time. Outside, inside, It was happening. And the moment I saw Evan Neal try to shade, he was going by you too.
Yep. So it's all about communication. You got to see it pre-snap. That's number one. If you don't see him pre-snap, or you did your homework and watch that, okay, this guy has his right leg back or his left leg back, or his hand twitches, or he's got a slight inside eye on you. He's going inside. Like, if you don't pick those up, it's going to be bad because you got to know that stunt is coming. So you got to be able to pass it off with the tackle, and you guys got to be on the same plane because, normal tackle set, they're setting back off the ball, whereas a guard, you want to set kind of more on the ball. But since I know that a game is coming, a TE or ET is coming, I tell my tackle like, hey, stay on the same plane as me so we can pick this up. And I can tell they weren't doing that because I saw Evan Neal, Neal and Thomas, they just take their regular tackle sets, but you can't do that on games. You got to know they're coming. So as soon as he take his set, I'm like, all right, it ain't gonna be good. So you got to be on the same plane when you're running those TEs and those stunts.
Sure, and we still saw some not great Evan Neal play in the last game against Arizona, but you saw a difference with McKeithen. You saw a much bigger difference of it now flipping out the guard. Young boy like you, 5th rounder like you, 6'7", 340, like just a massive human being. And then when you put 6'7", 6'8", 350 or he's down to like 340 himself. You're talking about 700 pounds almost on one side of the line, which at least you would hope can do a little something to slow some people up. So we did see an improvement slowly just by taking one person out of that and adding a different talent, if you will. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's going to be a tough one, man. Really, really tough defense. So Darius wants to know favorite player you like watching right now, whether it's a Giant or not. Irrelevant. If you just have a favorite football player, that's fine too. But who's your favorite Giant and favorite football player?
My favorite Giant ever. I got two, so I'm gonna go with Eli, not just because he was my teammate, but just watching him through the years and being able to be his center and be his guard and seeing how he studied for the game. So he'd have all the centers before practice. We'd be in the film room watching film together. And just the way he would, work the game and the game plan, one of the best I've ever seen. So I'll go
Give us a
Eli.
little bit when you get the chance, give me a little bit of insight on that. Walk us through something that would happen in that play. He's diagnosing a play. How does he see it? And then how do you see his interpretation? How do you guys end up on the same page?
What I loved about Eli is he wanted to know what the center saw before he gave what he saw. So if a defense was set up a certain way, he'd ask, okay, centers, what do you guys see? So we'd say it was me, Rich Berg, and I think Jalapeno at the time.
Yep.
And he'd be like, what do you guys see? So Weston would go first, then I would go, and then P.O. would go. And he'd be like, okay, I love that, but this is what I see. Safety's down. They're rotating the other safety. Something's coming from that left side. I'm going to slide, slide the slide side. And I'm gonna bring the running back over, and we're gonna get that side block. It's just little things like that, like bringing the running back over to block the extra guy, or as an offensive lineman, let's say we're running spread, and it's 5 on 5, and we got to call 5-0. We got the 5 linemen, but they bring an extra guy, a linebacker in the hole. We got to slide a certain way, leave the defensive end. Like for us, we know what we're doing, but it's always nice to have the quarterback be like, okay, we're sliding, the London Fletcher's coming. So we have to slide to the left, leave the defensive end. We already know what's going on, but it's good to know like our quarterback knows what's going on. Because I came from a couple teams where I had a quarterback who was asking me for checks, and I'm like, dude, you're supposed to know this. Like, we're in the middle of a game.
We're dropping names. We're dropping names. We're dropping teams. We got that names. We're dropping teams, maybe.
I don't want to drop the team or the name.
Fair.
Good dude that plays for the Saints right now. He didn't know what was going on, but he was like, "What are we doing on this play?" I'm like, "We're supposed to slide to the left." He's like, "Oh, okay, that's what we're supposed to do." I'm like, "All right, just call the play, man." but yeah, like I said, the Saints. I'm gonna leave it at that. But just knowing the quarterback knows what the hell he's doing it takes a lot of pressure off of us.
Sure. Does the Eli Manning Hall of Fame question make much sense to you?
It does. It does. How many quarterbacks won? First of all, have won 2 Super Bowls.
No, when I
And
say
then,
that side, maybe I should rephrase it. The question of him not being a Hall of Famer. There's an obvious
oh,
set of people who are like, that guy's not a Hall of Famer. Does that make sense to you since you've been in the
no,
building? His resume
no.
and just personally interacting. Bias aside, try to be as objective as you can. Objectively speaking, Hall of Famer?
Yes. And like I said, objectively, like, let's say I didn't play with him. The guy won 2 Super Bowls. How many quarterbacks won 2 Super Bowls?
Not
How
a
many
lot.
people have beat the Belichick Patriots team in the Super Bowl? I mean, that right there gives you all that you need. And he's what, I think number 10 or 9 most
Yes.
yards, I think it is.
Yes.
How many of those guys are Hall of Famers? Most of
They
them.
all will be. They all will be.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. They all will be, or they are already. It just makes sense. It does.
Yeah. As an offensive lineman, what's the hardest part of your job?
The hardest part of my job, probably just banging. You're banging for 60 plays. If you run 60 plays a game, you getting your head hit 60 plays a game. That's pretty much it, though. Well, no, I won't say that. So I was already a smart offensive lineman. Again, I came from Iowa. You know, all those guys are smart, really smart. So the game is different from somebody that comes from, you know, the child of Incarnation College, where you're learning how to play offensive line, and you have to know the calls and know how the quarterback talks, how as a center, how, you know, where does everybody go, you know. So the second part would be the language, because I came from I did 4 or 5 teams, and each team's language is different. There was not a team where it's the same language. It was all the same plays, but the language was different. But once you learn that just from jumping from team to team, it's very easy. But not knowing that, you know, your first time getting cut, going to a different team, learning that playbook is very hard.
Yeah, it's got to be a huge adjustment settlement period. Again, fans probably just assume like, "How do you not know yet? What are you doing?" But there's obviously so much more than goes into it than just strictly the play. There's so much behind the play that gets you to the play. So there's obviously a lot encompassing. How many babies we got? That's the real question. How many kids we got here? She's adorable.
Thank you. Now, I only got 2, so I got my 4-year-old. My 4-year-old is 4'3", 56 pounds. He's a monster.
4'3", 4-year-old.
Yeah, he's a monster. He just turned 4 in July.
Oh,
and then my
man.
baby girl, she just turned 1 September 1st.
Do you still, quick sidebar question, do you still communicate or talk to Brandon Jacobs at all?
No, I haven't. But quick Brandon Jacobs story. I never met Brandon Jacobs in my life until I played with the Giants. So the day before, whatever game it was a home game because we were at the hotel in New York or in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this big old dude. He's tall. I'm like, okay, he must have played ball for somebody. Like, I know what Brandon Jacobs looks like, but his face, it just didn't connect at the time. So I go over to my boy. I'm like, P.O., like, who is that? Is that Brandon Jacobs? He was like, yeah, man, you ain't know. I'm like, no. I keep up with football, but not like that back in the day. You know, I was just playing to play. But he was all of 6'4", 6'5", I've never seen it. I'm like, he played running back. He looks like an offensive lineman.
Hey,
not
like
fat-wise, but size-wise.
260, maybe something. I mean, it's massive human. And he was fast for his size, like fast.
Right. When I met him, he was probably still like 220. He was ripped up, but he was 6'5", and I'm like, I've never seen a running back that big until I met Derrick Henry and shook his hand for the first time. That's when I was like, okay, that's a monster.
If you ever see Brandon Jacobs' Instagram, his kids are huge.
I have.
His kids are huge.
And I think they're both offensive linemen, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
they're monsters. I mean, heavily recruited, but they are physically huge human beings.
Man, I'd love to get my hands on them. Actually, I do some offensive line coaching on the side too. So I got some kids. One kid's got a scholarship to Texas A&M, Texas, and I think LSU now. He's a junior, going to be a senior at Iowa Colony. You know, I got a couple other kids that I'm working with now in Texas. So
you need to hit up some of your former Giants teammates. There's room in that building, man, especially for offensive line. Just bring everybody who's got an idea. Let's get something going. Because for me, where's the player development happening, right? A player has to be developed, one would assume, to some extent. who is the one developing them? Because we haven't seen player development along the line for I don't know how long, decade,
Right.
if you will. So the guys in the building, at least to the eye outside, sure, I don't know who it is. Is it the coaches, the players, both? I don't know, but neither have really worked out too much. So at some point, it's got to be the player development.
No, 100%. That's why I like Flaherty. Like we had Weston Richburg, we had John Jerry, Pugh, um, Schwartz.
Yep, got
I
Schwartz
forgot who
first.
our left tackle was. Who was our brother with the Braves? He played in the Super
Oh, I'm
Bowl.
picturing him right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Second round pick. He
Right.
tore his pec, UConn kid.
Yeah. He
I'm
lives in
picturing
Arizona
him, but
now.
I can't. Yeah, I can't think of the name. I gotta look him up now because I'm thinking of his name. If you remember his name, throw it in the chat. He got the extension. I'm seeing him. I'm
Me
not coming up
too.
with his name though.
He's a good dude too. But if you think of those guys, a lot of those guys were, I don't want to say nobodies, but they were guys that came from different teams, or you really didn't know about them. They weren't like big time first round guys that came in and all right, let's play. Except for Pugh. Pugh was kind of the only guy that was first round. I think he's first round that they wanted to play right away.
Was it Will Beatty?
Will Beatty. There we go.
Will Beatty. That's what it was.
Will Beatty. Wow, Will Beatty was a good dude. But Flaherty really made us into what we were in 2016 offensive line wise. If you think about running back, we had Rashad Jennings, who was still a good player. He's a little bit older at the time, but we were getting 80, 90, 100 yards a game at that time. With Rashad Jennings, and I forgot who our backups were, but we were able to move the ball really well that season. And even the season before that, we were able to move the ball pretty good, if I remember correctly. So Flaherty was a guy that he was developing guys. I don't know where that went after he left. Solari did the same thing. Like I said, he's him and George Warhop, my two to three favorite offensive line coaches. I'll say Warhop, Solari, and Forrester. Those are my three favorites. Those guys they had it down pat. But they really taught the game of offensive line, and you see it. Even Forrester. Forster's in. I had him when I was with the Redskins. Now he's in San Fran, and of course they're one of the better offensive lines in the game.
Yep.
Mike Solari, I think he's with the Packers now. I forgot who he's with now, but he was the Seahawks offensive line when they had Marshawn Lynch, teacher of the game. Giants had him. They let him go to Seahawks. Flaherty went somewhere else, and they played well too, and I forgot where he went.
I think someone put in the comments earlier that Flaherty is now at Rutgers.
Oh, good.
And apparently they're playing Iowa this year. So that was also.
Oh, well, there we go. I might have to go to that game. Flaherty's my dog, man. He's a great coach, man. He really believed in me, and I appreciate him for it. But those are two great coaches that the Giants had, and they let him go. I still don't get it, but hey, that's not my decision.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're playing a team like San Francisco, only a couple more, and I'm gonna let you go because I appreciate your time. When you're playing a team like San Francisco that can obviously win one-on-one with the rush, great defense, front seven, and you have obviously some holes in your offensive line. How do you combat that? What's the game planning? What is the process? What is the communication that says, okay, we can obviously hang with these guys because we're pros too. No one's playing scared. You're going to play to the top of your ability. But how do you game plan to negate those things? For me tomorrow, I personally want to see Daniel Bellinger wherever Bosa is to help out whoever he wants to line up across to help chip and all. I don't care who it is. Because even your left tackle tomorrow is just Izudu, who's getting his second probable start of his career at left tackle in the NFL. And at right guard again is going to be a guy getting his second start of his career. The guy at right tackle is going to be doing his 17th start of his career. The center is going to be having his third start of his career. I mean, you're talking about youth and inexperience across that. What is the communication in preparation of that game? And then how do you execute being able to say, you know what, we can do this?
First, you just have to go on with the thought of you can be a decent offensive line if you do the studying, if you have the fundamentals, if the mindset is there. So if the mindset is there, the least that can happen is that you hold up. So for them, tomorrow I just want to see him hold up against a decent defensive line. I want to see, like you said, Bellinger. I need a chip every damn play. I just need a chip every damn play. Make Thomas look good. Make Neal feel good. That'll help both of them mentally throughout the game and through the season. If you're playing a guy like Nick Bosa and you see yourself beating him, with a chip or some type of help from the outside going down the line, you're like, dang, if I can play against Nick Bosa, I can play against anybody. So just giving him that confidence of having somebody next to him. Granted, we don't want that every time, of course, sure, but that'll give him both of those guys some confidence and going down the line. For me, I just want to see him, if they can hold up against that defensive line. I think Daniel Jones will give him a chance. We're finally getting some pieces around Daniel Jones. I don't know. I think I saw Saquon isn't playing.
He's out for about 3 weeks. It was the initial. He was officially ruled out today. Okay. He's out. Andrew Thomas is out. Ben Bredesen, coming off the concussion, is out. And Aziz is out again. So you're losing 4 starters for your third game.
So just hold up. That's all you need to do. If you can hold up, you'll be all right. Some of the best teams in the league, all the offensive line does is hold up. Seriously, I'm thinking the Vikings. They got some decent offensive linemen, but they're holding up and they're playing decent. Same thing with the Cowboys. They're not dominating anybody. They used to be one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Yeah.
But now, they don't have those pieces, but they're still a decent offensive line, but they're not really dominating like they used to be. Granted, they got a great running back in the back, which, helps a ton. But all they're doing is holding up, and the running backs, my man
Pollard.
Pollard's doing his thing. So if they can hold up and let the playmakers make plays, I think they're gonna be all right. I really do.
Coach wants to know who was the one person who gave you the most trouble in blocking, whether it was practice or game. Who was the one that gave you the most physical, actual trouble?
In my pro career, probably Aaron Donald. We played him up in London, and I had to get it in for a little bit. And that guy, he's a different monster.
Yeah, buddy.
I played him in college. I just went back and watched I didn't know they put a whole bunch of games on YouTube and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I went back and looked at all my old college games, and I forgot we played against Aaron Donald. I was a senior. He was a sophomore, and I worked him pretty good. I'll say that now because now he's a different monster. But back then he was good, but he wasn't what he is now. So going into that game, we game plan for him. There's a double team on Aaron Donald every play. It doesn't matter what it is. We had Aaron Donald line calls like, all right, Aaron Donald, we're sliding. That means we're sliding Aaron Donald. We're not going man to man against him. There has to be 2 guys. Or if there's not 2 guys, we got a linebacker or a tight end coming in, giving you a chip inside or out, or we got the running back helping you. So that guy was the monster. That was the beast. Him and Marcel Darius.
Oh yeah,
for the Bills.
Marcel
Darius was another monster. When I was with the Skins, I had to play against him. He was a Pro Bowl, I think, 3 or 4 years, and him and I can't remember the guy that played next to him. They were really good at the time. His boy played, I think, 14 or 15 years. Last name, I think Phillips was a white guy. I can't remember his name, but he was them 2 guys together, they were monstrous.
Yeah. When you, as an offensive lineman, is it a good strategy or a decent strategy to say, all right, when you have, like you said, Nick Bosa, and he's going to rush, is just running the ball at him and trying to put him down by running the ball at him a little bit consistently a good strategy, a smart strategy, a backfire strategy? It seems like that's not a way people use to neutralize anymore, but it used to be. Like, all right, if this is the pass rush, run at him. Like if Evan Neal as a road grader is physically massive, 6'7", 340, gets off the block. Bellinger, big guy, plow into Bosa a little bit. Do you feel like that's a good game plan to neutralize, or it's really hit or miss depending on that defensive player's ability to, again, avoid or go around said block?
It's personnel for me. So if I got a guy like Trent Williams and a Nick Bosa playing against him, I'm running the ball at Nick Bosa because I know I got Trent Williams out there and he is not going to miss.
Yep.
A young guy like Evan Neal, He is a road grader. I'm watching this film from college. I think Alabama. He was running guys over. Again, it's a little different in the league. You ain't
Yeah,
running guys
absolutely.
over like that anymore. So, one little inside move messes up the whole play for a second year guy. So in this case with the Giants, I'm not running at Nick Bosa as much as possible. Or if I am going to run at Nick Bosa, I'm making sure we're getting a double team from the guard and tackle, or we're getting a double team from the guard. I'm rather tackling the tight end every time.
Now, would you just
I
do it?
personally would run away from it
Sure.
this week, just because we do got a lot of young guys that haven't played that are getting, the second and third starts ever. So I'd run away from it. But that's me. I'm all about personnel. If I can't get my best guy on their best guy, I'm not running at it.
Yeah, because again, you want to neutralize the matchup, not walk into it and then end up losing it either. So fair enough. All right, Adam. Any parting words? Just anything you want to just say to Giants fans or just the football world and community, just about your journey and yourself. And again, tell us a little bit more about what you do, where people can kind of find you.
Okay, so no, just Giants fans. I love you guys. I'm still a part of the Giants Alumni Association. I'm trying to get down to a game soon, but no, I love you guys. I didn't have the best career, but you guys made it so fun for me, especially the Bleshman School. I'll shout them out. I did a lot of community service for them. I'm gonna shout out my guy Danny in Jersey. He took care of me while I was there. So did Jim Sepp, another one of my family members. He's a family member to me now, but he kind of adopted me while I was out there. Him and his family out of Jersey. And just New York, Jersey. I love you guys, man. You guys really took care of me. And I know we're going to have a good season this year. I know Saquon is a little hurt, but he's going to be all right. Daniel Jones, I think, is going to be a guy, that's able to do it and continue to do it for the team. Hopefully he is the guy for a long time, like an Eli. We'll see. But let's keep putting some pieces around him. But you can find me on all social medias, Not On Duty, Twitter, Instagram, all that. I'm a financial advisor with Mass Mutual. So if you guys are looking for any advice, I don't charge for my services unless you pay for a certain service or you need some type of products. If you just want a extra pair of eyes on what you're doing, or if you need some type of insurance, just hit me up. Adam Gettis, Mass Mutual. You can look it up on the website. The website is sfgplanning.com, and I'll take care of you. That's it.
Adam, appreciate you so much for your time. I appreciate you taking out the time talking to us. Obviously, reliving your personal journey that's continuing from different areas. And good luck on parenthood, man. Like that's its own journey. 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Yeah, pray for me, bro. Pray for me.
I'm praying, bro. I'm praying. I definitely have been there, done that. So definitely pray for it. Again, thank you, and I appreciate you. I want to thank everybody who's stuck out and got some really, really great insight from Adam, personal, actual insight, which is really good. So appreciate you, Frat. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Hey, you too, Frat. Have a good one. We fight?
You know.